Well, joining me now from Dnipro, Sky's chief correspondent, Stuart Ramsay. And Stuart, this is extraordinary footage, which just adds colour to an already extraordinary incident and an incredibly tense happening so close to the borders of this war, even though it was, of course, in international airspace.
Yeah, direct conflict between these two countries. It is very important. I think it's fair to say that when the Americans said what had happened, and we see in this video that's been released 2 passes on this drone and then eventually a propeller that's not working. When they said that's what happened, I think it was fair to say that everyone knew it was the case and that they had the video which would support it, because obviously it's a surveillance drone, so it can actually film everything. And it appears then after that propeller was hit, they had to crash the drone. And lo and behold, the Russians are lying. I think it's also fair to say that they've been doing that since 2014 on virtually everything to do with Ukraine, and that continues now. And it is very much a standard procedure. Now, whether this leads to any escalation, it could, but I suspect it won't. Both sides will probably step back. I think the United States is just making the point that we said what happened did actually happen, and we can show it. Bear in mind, the Russians said that there was no contact with the drone and that it was a pilot error by the drone operator, not their jets. But clearly that isn't what happened. I would have to say that the Russians do this quite often. It's not uncommon. They do very dangerous manoeuvres in front of NATO planes and drones all the time. It's to unsettle the pilots rather than to actually cause any damage. But of course, the real fear is that one day things will go wrong, you will actually have direct contact, and then that really could escalate. But at the moment, it was an unmanned drone, and I suspect they'll all move on if they can.
And Stuart, talk to us about the other news that we're learning about this morning as it relates to aircraft in and around the region. Poland planning to lend some fighter jets to Ukraine?
They're going to send, MiGs, MiG-29s in the next few days. 4 at the start, they say, and there could be more. Now, President Zelensky has been pretty much touring the world asking for fighter jets, obviously tanks as well, but fighter jets he really wants, F-16s he's really after. So far, Britain and the United States have not followed that path and say they don't really need them at this stage. So, obviously, Ukraine believes it does. Germany, others will want to potentially pass more on. Other countries probably will do so as well in the future. And I think what President Zelensky and the Ukrainian military will be hoping that pressure now comes to bear on the sort of United States and Great Britain with those F-16s and other planes that Britain has. It is a significant step for them. I'm not so sure 4 immediately makes a massive difference. We know that tanks are on the way now, and battlefield machines with them. Those could be really significant. The fighting, particularly around Bakhmut, is horrendous. You've got to remember the 600-mile front line is active all the time. It's just that the city of Bakhmut is taking most of the attention. And the resources of both the Ukrainians, but more importantly perhaps for Ukraine, the Russians. Huge numbers of men are dying on both sides, but the Russians are losing many more because of the tactics they're using. Ukraine is insisting it needs to hold on to Bakhmut and is determined to do so, though many think that perhaps they don't need to, but they are determined to.